Okay.
Yep. We're live.
Hi, my name is Shane Jones. I'm being joined tonight by Nanette and Brandon. We're going to be discussing, does greater processing speed or access to technology actually equate to better learning or better comprehending? So I'm going to let Nanette kick it off.
Okay, well, the first question, guys, is do we no longer need to be worried about the processing speed within technology itself, but more with the processing speed as it relates to technology and how it influences our business?
Barriers to learning seem to be the way that we access information. So greater comprehension can be gained by multiple angles or inputs and diverse ways to observe the intended object. As well, we learn quicker if the material can be accessed more often in a more timely manner. So yes, speed and better technology do equate to better learning, or at least the opportunity to learn.
Yeah, and we, through our research, we came across a university in Britain that surveyed a group of 8 to 12-year-olds about their texting habits. And basically they were asked to provide samples, and the scientists found that kids who sent 3 or more texts a day had significantly lower literacy test results than children who sent no texts. Now, these children were then asked to write the text message down, and they showed greater use of text abbreviations like see you later with the numerical number 8. So this tended to score them higher with measures of verbal reasoning ability, so likely because their understanding of the English language, both written and verbally portrayed, their awareness was much higher. So I found that was really interesting.
Now, I'm making the assumption here, but I find our brains cannot keep up with today's technology. Technology speed has surpassed our speed of comprehension.
Okay, so moving on to question number 2. How are we able to understand all the technologies that we've been given and given endless access to?
Well, again, one of our first levels of research, we came across a really nice piece of technology that serves more research relevant to the concept and the framework, because it truly is like a revolution for technology, and I personally thought it was amazing. I had no idea something like this was out. And it's basically the QAMA calculator. So basically it's used just like a regular calculator, but it requires you to actually think and provide basically a best guess or an estimate before the answer is spewed out to you. So it's basically just a calculator that's looking for an accurate guess, and if your guess is in a proximity, it'll spit you out the answer. So it requires you to really kind of hone in on your mathematical understanding and any kind of education you have with math. So
I do have a question, because I don't think we can. You can spend a lifetime learning technology, but as you grasp it, until the person is used. It's nice to know that technology is there when we need it, but I think our society's dependence on it is too high.
And it is said that your brain is like a muscle, and if you stop using your cognitive skills and instead rely on technology to do all the thinking for you, in time, those skills will start to atrophy.
That's interesting, Shane. So are we right to think that we receive information differently because we are receiving it faster?
Yeah, because people are more interested in getting information out to the world than actually verifying it. In instant information, so sharing your thoughts via Twitter or your ideas via Facebook, even though it may not be a reliable source.
But the slower the speed could result in being discouraged as frustration could kick in. With the faster speed, you're still able to go at your own pace and learn. But with the faster speed, the comprehension could be compromised or affected because of the potential of learning transformation just to complete the task and not actually retaining the information that you've reviewed. Faster processing speeds on smartphones could be an asset as it is used more for quick lookups.
So that leads us to, are we technically receiving the information the same way? As our brains cannot truly process an understanding of what it is that we're absorbing.
Well, I guess it comes back to basically people expecting future access of information. So they have lower rates of recall of that actual information itself, and enhanced recall instead of where the access or where that information was accessed. So it's good to know where to find information you need, but decades of cognitive research show that skills like critical thinking and problem solving can be developed only in the context of factual knowledge. In other words, you have to have this knowledge stored in your head, not just in a computer. And this is information relevant quotes that were taken from Wegner, very nice theorist relevant to this whole evolution of technology and comprehension.
But then could technology then be considered adaptive learning? You know, for example, what if technology were to shut down tomorrow? Do we have the knowledge to carry ourselves and survive without it? And the digital immigrants rise above over the digital movement.
The conqueror worm. So that's an interesting idea. Considering there are multiple dependencies on technology, I mean, the multiple ways in which we depend on it in our everyday lives, would we be able to constructively problem solve without it? Creating fire, you know, Tom Hanks. And we certainly couldn't continue a society as we do now. We can't even comprehend something ourselves, and technology, as it is, when we can't understand it ourselves, technology gives us access to those more knowledgeable others.
For sure, definitely agree with you. And so do you guys feel, as information sits and it's available to us now, is it better understood today presented with varying technologies, so not so much just access to the desktop? I've kind of say it's safe to say that using technology for greater access does not so much mean that you'll be able to access things faster through the technology just because you have the greater access. It doesn't mean that once it is accessed, you're going to be able to gain anything from it. And I think that's what we've looked into over the past few minutes now.
Well, with all the information available to us and how fast we can receive it, can it allow us to apply our findings quicker? You know, you have search engines as opposed to those library index cards. Quicker access to materials, maybe your scholarly articles from around the world, and opportunities to search with a few keywords. And what you may not be able to comprehend can be easily searched for a different meaning on the web, therefore allowing you to draw your own conclusion a lot faster.
Yeah, that's my point. So, greater processing speed is a tool to drive technology to greater ability, but there is a saturation point, especially as it applies to our ability to comprehend, to learn, to synthesize. The technology allows us greater access and ability to form learning, like when you're building schema, building ideas, but it can't allow us to learn quicker. Once all the barriers have been dropped, all the barriers to learning, technology does have the ability to remove those barriers, but we still must be able to access and confer and process in our own time.
Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it, Shane. It's a really good way of breaking it down. And so, like, I think it's safe to say, like, we have this great access, and our speed is exponential. So, I guess our next level is, like, are we using it, and or are we using it correctly? And I think it's all about using the technology to work with your understanding as a learner. So it's very, very easy to get lost in the internet, and that's one thing I came across a lot over the past couple of years of getting into this technology side of learning and understanding. And basically, one click and clicking the wrong way might close several links of important research or information or databases that are they're basically just going to be buried in the web, and it's going to be very hard for you to come back to that, basically because you're processing based on your keyword, and your keyword finds you something and you're happy with those results, and it just basically underlies the whole progressive learning and better understanding of things, digging in.
So because of that access, however the opportunity to do research, how could potentially have lost without losing too much time? Like, we have noticed to see through the dribble, the whole, my grandfather used to say, believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. And I think that idea still holds true, which is why I'm a great proponent of foundational knowledge. The idea that if you have a foundation of knowledge that you can compare new information to, new ideas, then you're better able to see through that dribble, where you can kind of say, oh, that's total nonsense, because I know that my car is not overheating simply because I've lost my alternator. Sort of idea. If you have foundational knowledge, then you can compare it and sort of get rid of some of that dribble.
That's a really good example, Shane. I like that a lot. And I think now, looking back on our research and the process that we've all been going through now for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I'm not too sure I personally have come up with any kind of resolve relevant to our initial question or PBL problem that was presented that we came across. And I surely have gained more insight into how I perceive technology and how it works for us. So I'm just I'm interested in more of explaining the new technology, and that calculator, the QAMA, just basically opens up a whirl of questions, and how can that be applied to maybe a search engine. So you key in a simple question, and in order to get the answers, you need to key in maybe something of relevance. So yeah, I just think it's a lot of endless opportunities.
Yeah. And so technology can adapt to the learner and create intuitive learning opportunities. And, you can use technology to create games and constructs to help the learner, but the technology only needs to be as fast as the program requires it, and increasing the speed at which the technology delivers it does not increase the speed at which the learner comprehends it. So it seems that, historically, we look back and technology was used as a replacement to social interaction, and you sit the child in front of the computer and they have the adding program and it just gives them out problems that they can solve. But now more and more, we're seeing that education is looking to use technology to eliminate barriers to social interaction and to collaboration, such as time and distance, in the way that this is now, in that we can learn and we can access a community of learners outside of distance and outside of time constraints, and that's being used as a method to increase learning.
With access to technology, we have so much more information available to us as well. Support is provided through technology with online forums and blogs and simulations and communities of practice, and simply the ability to ask questions and share our ideas. You have the opportunity to learn off of here. Face-to-face interaction no longer seems to be a requirement as the web-based learning. The webcam seems to be the new wave. For example, Adobe Connect, exactly what we're doing right here. This promotes critical thinking and knowledge building. But I do look at the fact that if you cannot comprehend what you are reading or hearing on the internet, how can you actually use this technology? And it does come back to my initial thought when Shane posed this question to us. If you've got it, you've got it. And this technology may not be the answer to comprehend